Hello everyone and welcome to the video. Today I am covering a brand new descent guide. I've covered this in the past when the mode first came out, but since then it's had a lot of changes and it also falls in line with my beginner guide series at the start of 2024 for the Division 2. If you want to watch any of this series, it's linked down below in the video description. There's a lot of good information in there for new players and returning players, so go and check it out. Another reason why I am putting this out now is because with the recent update on the Division 2 Season 3 Title Update 20, they have added an exotic rifle called the Vindicator to the Descent Vendor at the NSA Station, and you can only unlock this exotic by playing this game mode. So with that, this is also a great opportunity to recap on this game mode and give you a full guide to it. So what I'm going to be doing in this video is talking you through a whole run. I like to play it solo. I believe it's the easiest way to do so. You can play with someone else if you want to, but the higher the number in your group, the harder it's going to be, especially when you get to Nemesis. So we're going to go from the start, take you through a whole playthrough and give you a lot of tips along the way while explaining the game mode to you in case you are entirely new to it. So, as soon as you start playing the Division 2, I think you have access to this game mode. It's not like other modes where you got to get to end game, and I think it's a part of the level 30 end game as well if you don't own the expansion. I could be wrong with that. Please correct me in the comments if I am. But you'll notice the icons on the map here. There's one right next to the base of operations. And also, you've got a descent icon down there at the castle settlement as you progress through the story and you reach end game. So here is what it looks like when you're outside of the base of operations. And what Descent is, it's a simulation. You'll start the simulation, and when you go in, you start with nothing, and you got to build up your weapons and gear as you keep on advancing through the mode to take on more difficult enemies as you go. And the aim of it, I guess, is to reach the highest loop for those that are hardcore on the mode. But what Descent also has is a lot of rewards attached to it, including the exotic that I just mentioned. And you only really need to be able to get up to the Nemesis and defeat it, which is kind of like the boss in Descent, to be able to get a hold of most of these rewards. Anything past that is just cosmetic, and I think the maximum loop you need to get to is loop 25. Again, correct me if I'm wrong, and that will reward you a patch. But if you're not bothered about patches and you just want like the named blueprints that you can get from Descent or the exotic rifle or other stuff like that that are attached to the mode, just being able to complete the Nemesis is all you need to be able to do. A lot of the rewards you can find here at the NSA Station, which is next to the entrance. We're going to be taking a look at that later on when I take you through a playthrough. So let's enter the simulation. As soon as you enter, you'll be in this room here with this terminal in front of you. You'll have to initialize it to get the mode started. And before we get going, one thing you're going to want to check out, if you bring up the menu and the loadout menu, you'll have the option at the top here for the talent pool. As I've already stated, you'll be starting Descent off with nothing. All you have is a sidearm, and you're going to be going through this mode. You'll be gathering weapons, and you'll also be gathering talents to make your build. Now, this talent pool changes and it rotates quite regularly. You can see at the top there, this is going to rotate again in another 1 day and 21 hours. And on this talent pool list, you can have a look at all the talents that are available right now. So you can kind of plan what you want as you go. So you've got exotic talents, offensive, defensive, and utility. As you get more accustomed with the game mode, you are going to learn what talents you like and things like that. So this will just give you an idea of what's available, and you can plan before you start your run. Descent never used to be like this, but as they keep on adding more talents to the game, they found out that because of the amount, it was harder to get a hold of the talents that you wanted. So by doing it like this and only having a limited number available, it just means that you're more likely to come across ones that you want when they are available, and it works very well. I do like this system. So from the get-go, what you'll have the opportunity to do is get a weapon and a skill right away from this terminal. This is the only opportunity that you're going to get both throughout your run. Now, you will get access to this terminal again at the end of every loop, but you're only able to choose one, either a weapon or a skill. So make sure you choose both when you first enter. I highly recommend being very careful with the skills that you choose. We will discuss that later on. And also with the weapons, something like a ranged weapon like a sniper or a an M1A rifle is very good. So I highly suggest getting one of them if it offers you. But choose what you want, get a weapon, get a skill, and then your next task right away is just going to be to pick a room. This is going to be the same throughout this mode. You're going to be picking rooms as you go and the different difficulty. You'll also notice that there's like colors around the room icon. This is going to let you know what type of talent is available in that room. So in this room here, we're going to have 2 utility talents and a offensive talent at the end to pick from. So we're just going to go and complete this room now. And on completion of every room, you'll then get access to a talent terminal before you move on. And here we go. You can see we've got 2 utilities and 1 offensive to choose from. There's also a random one at the bottom there, which is, I believe, is a perk that I've unlocked. I'll explain that later on. That's also there to choose if I want to choose that. So we've got Sadist, Precise, Trauma, or Leadership to choose from right now. I can re-roll if I want to. This will cost 250 of the Descent credits there if I want to re-roll that. And what I can also do is I can skip the choice if I don't want to pick anything. This will allow me to receive 250 of the Descent credits. These are not NSA credits that you spend at the NSA Station. I'll explain more about that as we go. But one of the talents here is Trauma. I highly recommend that you go for that if you're just doing a solo run to defeat the Nemesis. Notice that there's 6 slots here that I can have when I select the talent. You'll see 3 are locked. We can unlock more slots as we go later on. That will be discussed. But by default, you're going to have 3 slots available for utility talents, offensive talents, and defensive talents. At the end of every room, you're then just going to move on to the next room. So we've completed that one, which was an easy room, and we've got some more options here. We've got a hard room and an easy one. The easy one with all blue talents, a hard one with all red talents. Now, the difference between the rooms, I'm going to explain this at this point now, is the Nemesis heat. The Nemesis is the boss, and if you go easy rooms, you can see here that I get 7% heat towards the Nemesis. So if I go easy all the way, I'm going to get to the Nemesis quicker. But if we head over to this hard room, you'll notice that the heat for the Nemesis on this one is only 3%. So if you go harder rooms all the way, you're not going to get to the Nemesis as quick, which will enable you to get more specced out with talents and things like that, which should make it a bit easier. But if you try to just do the Nemesis solo over and over, just go for the easy rooms all the time, because once you get used to this, it is very easy. You don't need to worry too much about it. I'll be explaining more tips as we go to make this task even easier. So we've just picked another easier one now. This is going to give us 7% heat towards our Nemesis. We're going to have some more enemies to defeat before we can pick another talent. With the room complete, one thing I forgot to mention there at the start, it let us know there was also a supply shop in this room. These don't happen all of the time, so when they do, take advantage of them. What a supply shop will do is allow you to restock on ammo, armor kits, grenades, and even get some special ammo if you want it. These will cost Descent credits though, so be careful because you might want to use these credits for something later on. With the second room clear, we're just going to continue on with the game mode now, and it's the same thing again. We've got another room to pick. We've got to decide by what talents we want, or whether we just want to speed through this to the Nemesis. So make your decision wisely and just carry on going. Eventually, you're going to get to the arena room. This will be at the end of every loop. So at the end of loop 1 now, we've got the arena, and it's the only room that we can choose. Every arena, you are going to be rewarded with NSA tech. This is the currency that you take out of Descent and use at that NSA station that I've shown you at the start of the video. So it's the first time during this game mode we can actually earn any of this, and you can earn NSA tech from every arena room that you get. So the final room of every loop will reward you with NSA tech. The arena room is just a boss room, and there's about 4 of them, I think, so you'll come across the same room quite often as you play, and you'll have a wave of enemies. You'll have to defeat that wave of enemies, and then the second wave of enemies will include a named boss. You'll have to take care of that boss before you complete the room. As you progress further in Descent, the waves of enemies will increase. I'm going to speak a little bit about that now while we're on the topic. When you're playing solo, you're going to have one wave of enemies all the way through to loop 5. It's not going to increase. And then the arena rooms will have the 2 waves. But as you get to loop 5, I believe it's loop 5, it could be 6. Again, correct me if I'm wrong down in the comments. But as you get to a certain loop, the wave of enemies per room will increase to 2. And when you're solo, that happens a little bit later than when you're playing in a group. If you're playing in a group, it happens on loop 4, which is, again, is another reason why playing solo on Descent can be easier if you're just looking to grind it. What happens when you do increase the waves of enemies per room? When you get to an arena room, that will also increase as well. So if I was playing now, say loop 6, and the general room had 2 waves of enemies, when I got to the arena, I'd have 3 waves in total before I cleared it. So, back to where we are. Loop 1 arena, we've just cleared it. We've killed the named enemy. Every single time you complete loop 1 arena, you're going to be given a choice to get an exotic talent. This is guaranteed. Now, on screen now, you can see a list of 3. These are all pretty good talents, to be honest with you. We got Plague of the Outcasts, Bullet Hell, and Agonizing Bite. There's a section of this guide where I'm going to discuss some good talents to go for as you're going through your playthrough, but with the exotic ones, Plague of the Outcast is recommended by a lot of people. It's very, very good. And if you're playing your solo playthrough just to grind the Nemesis over and over, if you get this option, always go for it. It makes things so much easier because that 75% weapon damage over 10 seconds you can just use to your advantage all the time. Bullet Hell is another good one as well because you don't need to reload, and Agonizing Bite is a Diamondback talent where enemies will get marked. You can hit that enemy then for guaranteed crits, and that works very well also. But if I'm playing solo just to defeat the Nemesis, I'm going for Plague of the Outcasts all of the time if I can. And just like with your offensive, defensive, and utility, you've got slots where you can place your exotic talent. There's not 6 on this, there's only 3. The others, you had 3 slots with 3 unlockable ones. With exotic talents, the maximum you can have is 3. Also, at the end of every loop, you get to choose a stat, and that can either be Devastating for extra weapon damage, Hardened for extra armor, or Skill tier for extra skill tier. I highly recommend going Devastating all of the way. Armor doesn't really come into effect, and unless you're a skill build player, skill tier isn't going to help you either. And if you just want to defeat the Nemesis, if you're playing solo, skills aren't that great anyway, because he's like a hunter and he will hack them. So go Devastating, increase your damage as much as you can at the end of every loop. Once you finish loop 1, you'll be on to loop 2 and you'll be back in your lobby. You'll get another chance here to select a weapon or a skill. And as I mentioned earlier, you can only select one this time. So you can't have a weapon and a skill. Have a look at what's available and then choose wisely. You can skip a choice if you don't want anything at this point, and it will reward you with some Descent currency to spend at the shop. But I highly recommend looking for weapons that you like. But again, if you can get a custom M1A rifle or a sniper rifle, these are going to be very good when it comes to the Nemesis later on. So do get one of those in position if you can, and then have a weapon that you enjoy using also. So once you've done that, before you carry on and pick your next room, you've got some items here for free. You can restock on a grenade, you can restock on your ammo for free, and you can also restock on a armor kit. And then you've got this shop. This shop is where you can spend your Descent currency, and it just improves yourself for this game. Once you come out of the game and come back in, none of this is going to save or anything like that. It's just for this game that you're playing now. You can increase your offensive talent slots, your defensive talent slots, your utility talents slots. So where before we said you had 6 slots for your talents, this is where you increase them. You can also increase your weapon choice and skill choice. So when you choose that in the lobby at the end of every loop, it just gives you that extra option. There's ammo capacity there, armor kit capacity, and grenade capacity. I highly recommend that on your solo playthrough, you do go for the offensive talent slot. You want to make yourself as hard hitting as possible. 3 slots isn't normally enough, so I always unlock a slot or 2 here when I'm doing a solo Nemesis run. Another thing to focus on there, I guess, is ammo capacity, and definitely increase your armor kit capacity when you can. So now we're just going to carry on with all that in mind, and we're just going to keep on going for easy rooms to get through these loops as quick as possible. As you go up in loops, the difficulty is naturally going to increase. You'll get more enemies spawning in, and you'll notice where the spawn points are. I don't know why I haven't mentioned this sooner, because as you enter a room, there's going to be doors that are highlighted in red like that. Any door that's highlighted in red has potential rather to spawn enemies from. So as you enter rooms, especially as you go higher up in the loops as the enemies are getting more difficult, just try and scope out these doors with that red highlight on them as soon as possible, and just find a good position where you can maybe see one of those doors, but you're not going to get surprised by a door behind you or anything like that. A good skill that you can equip if it offers you as you go is like a shock trap. It's very good just to throw down at one of those red doors while you focus another one. Highly recommend that if that's available to you. But just have this in mind as you are entering rooms in Descent. So I've got to the end of loop 2 now. I'm up to the arena. And another thing just to point out at this point is as you go through your loops, rooms will start having hazards on them. We can see the poison hazard is attached to this room. So just be mindful of that. And you'll see the NSA tech reward has gone up for the second loop. This happens as you keep on going up through loops. I'm not sure exactly how much they go up, but loop 1 was 10, loop 2 is 11. I feel like loop 3 and 4 is both 13, but it will increase as you keep on going just to give you that extra bit of NSA tech as a reward. And where you were guaranteed an exotic talent at the end of loop 1, the rest of the loops you're not guaranteed that. You can see here I'm going straight to stats, where I'm going to pick Devastating, Hardened, or Skill tier. There is a chance though that you can get offered another exotic talent, and the higher the loops you go, the higher the chance that you get offered the exotic talent increases. Remember, you can have a maximum of 3 exotic talents, so hopefully before you reach the Nemesis, your luck is in and you do get at least 1 additional exotic talent offered to you. You can see here at the end of loop 2, we're back in the lobby, and the top right corner, we're already 52% to Nemesis. So at the minute, we're on course to get the Nemesis at the end of loop 4, which is the quickest you can get to the Nemesis. I've been going for all the easy rooms though, that's why we're doing this so quick. If I was going for medium or hard rooms, I'd have more talents on me and be able to increase my build better and become more powerful, but I wouldn't be as close to Nemesis as I am now. I think the last or the latest loop you can get the Nemesis to spawn is loop 9. So depending on the rooms that you pick, you'll always get in between loop 4 and loop 9. We're just going to skip past loop 3 now, really, because I've advised everything that I can up to this point. Again, I just want to emphasize on when you enter a room, you can see I'm throwing a shock trap out there, a door that's going to cover that door for me, and I position myself where I can see another door. Just take your time. Loop 3 is still very easy as long as you're increasing your damage, you're increasing your devastating. Enemies are going to die quick. You just need to be aware of your surroundings so you don't get surprised. If you die in Descent, it's over. You've got to start again. So this is very important, and it'll become very frustrating if you keep on dying. So just keep that in mind. Be careful, position yourself right, and it really is quite easy to keep on moving forward. So I've just finished loop 3. I am 80% to Nemesis now. I'm doing all my stuff at the shop. I'm getting some bits together. I'm restocking here. And I've just been offered a random boss room. This is something else that can pop up on your room choice as you go. And you'll know it's a random boss room because of the skull icon. Notice the difficulty one to the right there. If you look to the left, I got a skull. These rooms are very good. They are going to be a little bit more difficult because it's a boss room. You'll get a named enemy in there. But what's good about these is it doesn't matter whenever you get these, whatever amount of waves you're on in terms of enemies. A boss room will always have one wave with the named enemy. They can just be very tricky. They're also classed as a hard room. You'll notice the Nemesis heat for this is only 3%, but they reward you with NSA tech as well. And 25 NSA tech I'm going to get for this random boss room. This is the first one that I've came across on loop 4, and the more of these you come across, the higher the NSA tech is going to be rewarded. So if you are after that to unlock some stuff at the NSA station out of the mode later on, it's well worth doing these. It's a lot of NSA tech, and the more of these you get, the quicker you're going to get that tech up to go and get that Vindicator or anything else that is in that shop. The only thing is, with the low Nemesis heat at just 3%, there's a chance by doing too many of these, if you're looking to speedrun it, you're not going to get the Nemesis after loop 4. You're probably going to go into loop 5, but it's worth the risk, I say, because that NSA tech is very valuable. So I'm now at the end of loop 4. You can see my Nemesis heat is 100%, and we've just reached the loop 4 arena. Arenas don't give any Nemesis heat. Just looking at the NSA tech there, though, you can see that's increased again at loop 4, so I'm getting more of that. But with no Nemesis heat, if you get to the loop 4 arena and you're not at 100%, you're going to have to play an entire extra loop before you do get the Nemesis boss battle. But as we're at 100%, I now know this is my final room before my Nemesis encounter. And I got very lucky after completing this room because it gave me another exotic talent choice. So you're not always going to get this, but here we are. I've got an exotic talent to take to the Nemesis with me in addition to the one I had earlier. And this time it's offering me agonizing bite, payment in kind, or incessant chatter. I decided to go with Agonizing Bite as it's another exotic talent that I like, and I'm able to position that into another exotic slot there, so I've now got Plague of the Outcasts and Agonizing Bite. As I head to the next loop at Nemesis Heat 100, it's going to put me into the Nemesis battle. So you'll see in the top left, I'm still on loop 4 at this point, and I've got to defeat the Nemesis now to carry on with my descent run. You'll notice in here, we've got some shops on the right-hand side. This shop here is the shop that you get in the rooms as you're going through the mode. You're able to refill armor kits, refill grenades, or refill ammo. I only suggest that you refill armor kits if you need to, or grenades. There's a free ammo right behind us, so don't worry about that. You also get this shop here that you get in the lobby after every loop, so you can make some final adjustments here. Purchase some armor kits, increase some ammo capacity. I wouldn't worry about any offensive, defensive, or utility slots at this point, because now it's just all about defeating the Nemesis. I'd save at least 1,000 currency though. I made a mistake there. I went below 1,000 because in this one here where you can get the special ammo, I highly recommend equipping your weapons with that special ammo. Just make sure you have the right weapon equipped to what special ammo that you want it to go on. I highly recommend putting high velocity ammo on one and the hollow point ammo on another. If you're lucky and you got the perfect combination like an assault rifle and a M1A rifle, I'd put the high velocity on the assault rifle because what this is going to do is stagger the enemy. If the Nemesis tries to push you, you can switch to your AR just to stagger it. And then with the hollow point on your rifle, that's going to make the Nemesis bleed and you're going to cause extra damage to them, which is very handy. And it'll be the rifle that you use to try and take the Nemesis out. And by doing this, it can just make it a little bit quicker. So that's my recommendation with that, but you will need 1,000 credits to do it. So make sure you save it. And before you head out with all of that done, just make sure you hit restock here. You got a free ammo restock, you've got an extra grenade if you need it, and you've got an extra armor kit if you need it. Now, before we go and face the Nemesis, I just want to show you the build that I have and just give you some tips around how to build if the talents are available while you're playing this. So we've already spoke about the exotic talents. We can see I've got Plague of the Outcast and Agonizing Bite. These are brilliant for a Nemesis encounter, especially if you're playing solo and you just want to get to the Nemesis and kill him very easily. Now, talents you want to look out for through your playthrough to make a playthrough much easier. I highly recommend going for Trauma, Optimized, and Eyeless on the utility. Obviously, these won't always be available. There's also Brace that you can have instead of Optimized as well. But what Trauma does, it allows you to shoot the Nemesis in the head to blind them. And that's very handy when you're fighting them because they're like a hunter. They'll cause loads of damage. You want a way to crowd control them if you can. Eyeless allows you to do extra damage to blinded enemies, so it works hand in hand. And Optimized is increased weapon handling. Braced is the same, but you've got to be in cover with Braced. And the reason you want that is because with the offensive talents, one of the best talents you can get is Unhinged. If this is on the rotation, I highly recommend stacking this up as much as you can. You can see I've got a tier 3 here. Unhinged gives you, I think, 18% weapon damage at a cost of weapon handling. And every time you increase that, it's a further 18% weapon damage. It's so hard hitting. And yeah, you only need that really. You can see here, I weren't able to get anything else other than Rifleman on this playthrough. There are others that you'd have to stack up here as well, like Composure, Vigilance, Precise, or you can go for crits. But Unhinged, I'd say, is the best offensive talent you can get. It just gives you a debuff to your handling, which is why you want Optimized or Braced as well, because as you go higher up with Unhinged, it'll just become impossible to use your gun if you don't counter it. So that's why you're going Optimized on the utility. You want a bit of survivability as well, so I always like Preservation and Entrench. You can see I'm at tier 2 on both there. Preservation won't help against the Nemesis, but it will help get you there. After every kill, you'll get some armor back over time. Just makes things a little bit easy. And with Entrench, when you're without armor, if you run out of medkits, you can just get a headshot to give yourself some armor back. So that works very well, and it'll work well against the Nemesis as well. So that's your survivability sorted. Your damage is sorted through Unhinged, and Optimized then is going to counter Unhinged, with Trauma and Eyeless just making it easier to handle the Nemesis. If you can get this setup with a assault rifle and a rifle like the M1A or a sniper rifle, it's going to make the Nemesis encounter very, very easy. I just want to speak about skills before I show you this Nemesis encounter in full now. They say the Nemesis is going to come with skills based on the skills that you have. You can see in the bottom left there, I've got a shock trap and I've got a blind of Firefly. I only recommend using skills that you're happy to defend yourself against, because if I go against a Nemesis with a chem launcher, he might have a chem launcher, he could oxidize me, he could use fire on me or anything like that. So I don't want that. I'm not going to use a chem launcher. If I was to use something like a sticky bomb, he could have a sticky bomb. Again, I don't want him to have ranged attacks on me, so I'm not going to use that. Just think about that, because whatever skills you use can determine what the Nemesis uses, and it'll make it much more difficult if you choose the wrong skills. With the shock trap and Firefly, he's more likely to use a shock trap and Firefly against me, and that's something I'm comfortable to defend myself with. And you'll see how it plays out now. I'm going to play this Nemesis encounter in full. I'll speak through the start of it so you know how I position myself. And you'll see how easy this encounter is solo, setting myself up like this. To start the encounter, you just need to head outside and interact with the terminal. If you're playing in a group at this point, just a very quick tip, have one person watch the whole cutscene, everybody else skip the cutscene like I'm about to do now, and get everyone to rush to the position that I rushed to. I'll just give you a little bit more time to set up, but if you're playing solo, just skip the cutscene and run straight ahead. Now, there's a little bit of a vantage point we can use up here, so we're going to go and use that. I'm going to throw my shock trap there to stop him from rushing me if he does, and just watch this encounter in full now to see how easy it is.
Blinder Firefly detected. Hostile Blinder Firefly detected. System back online. Rogue shock trap detected. Hostile shock trap detected. Simulation terminated. Collate and gather.
In that encounter, you saw how Plague of the Outcasts worked, you saw how Trauma worked, you saw how much damage I was dealing to him, and he couldn't even get a bullet in at me in that position. You also saw that he had a Firefly and a shock trap just like I did, and they're very easy to defend. Now, I threw my Firefly at him, then blinder, and he countered it and it came back at me, so keep that in mind. It was really easy. I was using the custom M1A rifle. That is the best rifle you can get. You want your fingers crossed that you get it, but like I said, go with any rifle that you can because it's random. A sniper rifle will do. You just want to be able to take quick shots at his head to proc trauma and do mega damage at this stage. With the Nemesis defeated, you'll get 55 NSA tech to go and spend at the NSA station outside of the mode. It's the most tech that you can earn in Descent, and you're now ready to do it all again. After the Nemesis, you will go back to the lobby, and here you can continue if you want to. For the hardcore Descent players, it just runs the same now, exactly as we've explained throughout, but it's going to get more difficult as you go. You'll get more stronger as you go, and the goal is just to complete as many loops as you can. You won't have any more Nemesis, but you will encounter things like Black Tusk and also rogue agents. But if you just want to farm the Nemesis, exit back to DC, re-enter, and just keep on going again. Just keep on farming the Nemesis. It took me less than an hour to record this footage for you. If I wasn't recording, I can get a whole Nemesis run done in about 35 minutes. For completing the Nemesis as well, you are guaranteed some rewards. You're going to get a simulation cache, you're going to get an exotic cache, guaranteed, and you have a chance of getting a reconstructed cache. I didn't get a reconstructed cache on that instance, unfortunately, but you do have a chance. And what those reconstructed caches give is those named blueprints that you want for the crafting stations. So that's another reason why people want to play Descent. You'll also get some field proficiency caches as well for the levels that you go up. And you do go up quite a few levels while you're playing Descent. I think to complete the Nemesis, you're going to go 2 or 3 levels up on your watch. And finally, the NSA Station. So if you can do a Nemesis run over and over, you're guaranteed at least 100 NSA credits per run. So that's 100 per 35 minutes if you get efficient at it. That could be more though, depending on if it gives you those random boss rooms or not, because they reward you greatly. So if you just go into the station, what you can use this NSA tech on are these items here. You can buy reconstructed caches. So where you have a chance of these dropping off the Nemesis, you can actually guarantee them if you earn enough NSA tech, the 297 no. So if it's every 35 minutes to get 100, say you're looking at an hour and a half per reconstructed cache if you're doing this very efficiently. You can also buy exotic caches for 220, named item caches for 147. You've got a blue Descent uniform, red Descent uniform, yellow Descent uniform, and green Descent uniform for 1,662 each. These are well overpriced, but they're the uniforms that you can wear when you're playing Descent. And if you're in a 4-player group, you each wear a different color uniform. But on top of that, you can get the Vindicator. This is the only way you can get this exotic. It's 350. So again, if you're very efficient at the mode, this will take about an hour to 2 hours to get. But if you're learning the mode, hopefully you can learn what I've told you today to get good at this, and you'll get this in no time. You'll get 350 credits. You can come and buy this. And once you bought it once, you can buy it again if you want it for other characters as well. It'll always be here to buy. Another thing you'll want to do if you get into the game mode is also spend it on some upgrades. The NSA tech can be used here to purchase upgrades that count when you're in the mode. I've already started buying some, so you're not going to see all of them here, because once you've bought them all, they'll be removed. But you can see, you can get stuff like currency gain. That's the currency you use within the mode. You can increase your accuracy in the mode, your critical hit chance, headshot damage, health on kill, skill damage, skill haste, skill repair, status effect. And there's crit damage as well. I think I've already done that. But once you've invested into all of these and got them all unlocked, these are permanent unlocks for when you're playing the game mode. And that is pretty much it for this beginner's guide to Descent. Again, this is a beginner's guide that I'm just aiming to give a few tips on how to play the game mode, with a few tips on what to go for as you go through it. If you do start enjoying this game mode, Descent turns into a different beast altogether, because you're going to want to go for those high loops. It's such a fun mode. Experiment with all different talents that you want, all different weapon combinations with the talents. There's some incredible builds that you can piece together that you just can't do in the normal game, and I find it a hell of a lot of fun. But as a beginner, I think all you should be focusing on is just completing that Nemesis over and over, just to get comfortable with that, to get all of your awards. And if you go further than that, then great, good luck. The high loops take a lot of time. There's so much time needed to put in those high loops, and that's for the hardcore player. I hope you've enjoyed this video today though. Please be sure to give it a like, subscribe for more content, and now that we're done, if you'd want to see some more beginner guides to the Division 2, as I said right at the start, I have a playlist link down below in the video description, so go and check it out. Also come and check out our community if you want to really challenge yourself and play this in groups. You'll find people there to play with. Until next time, thank you so much for watching this one. Take care and peace out.